This is about you. And if you're too high or too low, you're going to fall off. Something's got at the top, you're going to come crashing down. At the bottom, you're going to stay down. And if you don't have any resources and motivated people around you, you're just going to be in that. You're going to think that you hate your profession. Hi everyone, welcome back to the podcast. Welcome back. Anybody new, welcome to the world, and anybody coming back, welcome back. I appreciate every single one of you, all of you beautiful, amazing humans. Welcome back to this intense podcast. If you're not ready for this, I would say just turn it off now. Because this is going to be a heavy one. This is going to be super deep. It's not like a this is how you fix a knee. It's not about that right now. And this is, if you ever wonder where I get my ideas from the podcast, it's based on the topics or the discussions that I'm having with the whole team, with my wife, with interns, with team members. It's just whatever the summary of the week is, and clients, and it's just whatever comes together. And this one is there's a resonating theme across the board, across all of these people and communities, and it was about success. One person, Cha, if you're listening to this, she said, one of my the one thing, your biggest limiter in what's going to determine if you're successful, personally, professionally, financially, spiritually, whatever it is, it's just you. You're the greatest limitation possible. And how does this kind of tie into the podcast topic today? What it takes to be a successful PT, what it takes to be a successful physical therapist. And really, you can insert that profession with anything, dentistry, carpentry, it doesn't matter. It's going to be the same thing. And I'm talking about specifically to PTs because that's my passion. I love people, and I love helping people within the profession really just understand what they do and help them be more successful. So in order to be successful, you kind of have to know what it takes to become a successful PT. So here are my thoughts, and this is, for those of you who are new, this is a lot. And for those of you who've been around, you're going to hear some reiterations, and some things are going to hit you at different time points. And I've been listening to several books, and I've been just constantly trying to figure out how to set myself for success. And in by nature, I have to share that with the people that are around me, because ultimately, what I'm trying to do is really just enhance myself, but then also, if I have people who are around me who understand that, they're also going to help support me. But then by virtue of that, I also am helping them grow, and it just becomes a fulfilling community of individuals. And so here it is. Here's what it takes to be a successful PT. Number one is constant growth, right? Constant, insatiable, constant growth. And if you think that going to one or two CEU courses is growth, that's you're just starting at the bottom of the platform. Like I think that's good. It's a standard that you have to meet licensure, to be able to say that you're competent, you're enhancing your skills. But I would say that's like a baseline. That's like, you can count that as your baseline. That's like somebody exercising twice a week is the equivalent to what I would say on that. If you exercise twice a week, I think ACSM's general consensus is two times a week is like base fitness. That's just to like maintain. Anything beyond that is like atrophy or decreasing muscle mass. So if you're exercising twice a week, good for you. I think it's a good start. If you're exercising 3, that's even better. If you're exercising 4, you're on a groove. And if you're at 5, 6, 7, man, you got to learn how to balance that out. And that's the equivalent of growth. And so if you say, well, I'm doing my CEUs, sounds good. You're only exercising twice a week. I would have to ask, what else? And it doesn't have to be PT. It could be introspective. It could be financial. And this comes sorry, I didn't even start with like what's been updates in our lives and sports performance and my personal life, but we're coming off of a quarterly review, and quarter one for our team, we set some goals and we had to look at what we were good at and bad at, or not so great, when we need to work on. And one of the things we talked about was constantly growing, and our company gets better on. It's dependent on three things: the people in it, the product that we have, and the processes. Those three. And if the processes are being taken care of as a team, that's great. If the product that we have, therapy, and we're working on our skill set and all those things, is great. But the people inside. And I can't force people to develop and grow. I can encourage, I can create a platform, but ultimately it's up to you. So you are your limiting factor. So in order for you to be successful in your career path, those same three P's are important for you. So if you're getting your processes right, you're getting your initial evaluation, you're getting your treatment session organized, you have a flow, the first 5 minutes are asking about what's going on, you get your treatment skills, you get your Therax, your home exercise program, your corrective exercises, whatever that may be. Once you get your processes set up, sounds great. Once you get your product, which is your treatment skills, you're doing your CEUs, you're doing all those things, that's great. That's fantastic. So now you have those two, but then you have that last one, which is the people. Like, that's you. If you don't believe that you can help people, if you're not working on yourself, your growth, your confidence, your confidence, everything about you that goes into that professional development, you're hoping that your product, your skill set, and your processes help you. But ultimately, it's compassion, it's understanding of what people want and need, understanding what you do for them, and you have to have all of those together. So that always comes from constant growth. And like I'm saying, you have to realize what you're good and you're not good at. And for some of you, it might be delivery of information. Maybe people don't understand your communication style. Maybe it's that you're not empathetic, or that you think that what you're doing is not valuable. These are all internal problems. So you can get all the CEUs that you want. That's not going to fix that. You can learn the best treatment algorithm and the best exercises, but your patient and clients suffer because they still don't see the value in what you just did for them. So some people will say, I went to school here, I've taken all these Con Ed, and my patients and clients just don't want to do exercises. Or I have a bad batch of patients and clients that they don't want to exercise. They don't want to do stuff. Sounds good. How about, you ever looked at, maybe it's the delivery of your information, it's the way you present things, it's the way that you see what you do for them. Is there anything valuable that you're doing? I mean, that's a personal challenge. And so some of you might be in settings that you don't necessarily love, or maybe you're in one, but you want to get better. And so you can only do so much skill set work, and you can only do so much processes work. But that person inside, like that needs to constantly be developed. So I am reading and listening to a lot of books at the moment, and I mean, they're going to vary. Some are going to be financial, some are going to be marketing, some are going to be leadership, some are going to be coaching. And ultimately, I'm just trying to work on myself. And I had this meeting with the team, and I told them, ultimately, you have to set people up for success. They have to be able to win with everything that you lay out for them. And if they're not successful, you have to ask, what are you doing that's not setting them up for success? And so that's the clinician's responsibility. And you might say, well, they just don't have, they're not motivated. They don't want to do what you gave them. Yeah, but are you providing a whole experience, a whole treatment session for them, setting it up for them to win? And if you're just printing out a homework exercise program and it's a template and you're just doing it for them, of course nobody wants to do that, because it's not customized, it's not for them. You just use the same thing that you gave 55-year-old Mary and 26-year-old John. Like, there was nothing individualized about that. And so a lot of people want to know that they're actually, whatever's being delivered is for them. just like you guys. And the same thing for you. If you're watching, if you're listening to a content, or it has to hit you, it has to resonate with you. And that's why, if you're a new listener, this might be a lot for you. If you're established and you've been here with me, you understand where I'm going with this. So you have to constantly grow. You have to. And that is number one. You have to. And if you're not constantly growing, sounds good. You're only exercising twice a week. That's all you're doing. You went to 2 CEUs, sounds good. But if you want to either get more fit and lose weight, gain muscle mass, it's equivalent of constant growth. So train more. That's all I'm saying. Read books, listen to podcasts, watch videos, do something besides be on social media and Netflix. Number 2, be realistic about your goals. I meet a lot of students, PTs, both new, established. I've mentored a lot. I've taught at a DPT program. I've seen it. And this next one is very important to that. You have to set realistic goals. I'm not even telling you to set goals. I'm just saying make them realistic. Most of us will do, 5, 10, 15 goals, and they're just outrageous, right? I want to lose 100 pounds. I want to be a pro sports PT. I mean, that's a really long goal. That's like saying somebody wants to increase their back squat 50 pounds when they're already at 850 or 900. That margin is going to be smaller and smaller every time. You're going to have to set smaller short-term goals to be able to get there. So all you have to do is just make sure that you're setting realistic goals and that you even have them. Most people don't even have goals. They don't. And that's fine if you want to live that lifestyle. But if you're listening to this podcast, you're probably wanting something more. So your internal goal, if you want to be a pro sports PT, might be, I want to sit for the SCS. Sounds good. I don't think you need your SCS to go into pro sports, but you definitely need some type of layering of different specialties to help you get there. Because if not, if you try and go into pro sports without having acute care management, really good clinical skills, and then limited programming or strength conditioning knowledge, I think you're built for failure. I think it's really, really tough. So for some people, sitting down from the SCS is the one thing that's going to force you to study and to actually pay attention. There's an easy saying, if you pay, you pay attention. Some people have to pay for an SCS just to give them the accountability and motivation to do it. And there's nothing wrong with that. Some people will go a different route and go into a residency. They need that accountability. That's what it takes. We can all sit down and watch or listen to content to be able to take an SCS exam. But until you pay, you're pretty much not going to study as hard as you would, because now something's holding you accountable. So what you might say is, I want to take the SCS in 3 years so I can have a pro job in insert number of years. But behind that, then you have to say, okay, every quarter I'm going to finish these chapters, or every week then I have to finish 5 pages. And if you're not hitting those short-term goals, it was unrealistic to begin with. If you want to sit for an SCS exam in a year, that's a good goal, but you got to work backwards and have monthly goals, weekly goals, and then daily goals. If you just set it for a month, it's not going to happen. And the same thing with your patients and clients. If you try and set that goal for 12 visits from now, you're going to be pain-free. But every single week there's limited progress. They're not doing their homework. I mean, it's just a two-way street. It's not helping. So you have to be able to adapt those goals. And I think a lot of times when you try and stay at that 12-visit goal of pain-free and you don't communicate that, you're setting them up for failure, because by the 10th, 11th, 12th, that's when you're blaming it on them. You didn't do your homework. You're still in pain. Versus at visit 3 and 4, you're like, hey, listen, we're not on track. We're going to push that out even more. And they don't like that. So then you have to create short-term goals for themselves, or for them. So the hardest part that I've learned about this is that we're really good at managing other people, and it's really hard to manage ourselves. And in order to do that, you got to partner with people. You got to be around a community of people, and that's why people they do a residency, because other people are there with them, pushing them. If you're trying to do this solo, I have no disagreement that you can do this. I've seen people do it. It's just a hard road to go along. So Number one, just make sure that you are constantly growing. Number two, set realistic goals. And I said this to the team recently. There's something called an arrival fallacy, and I think that it's important that you know it. An arrival fallacy is basically you think that an achievement of a goal will give you some form of fulfillment, and in reality, it doesn't happen or doesn't exist. So you buy a pair of new shoes, right? You've been looking at these pairs of shoes, and online you love them, right? You're like, man, you're just drooling over them. And in your next paycheck, you decide that you're going to invest in them. I want these pair of shoes. It means the world to me. I want these new pair of pants. I want these Bose headphones. I want these Beats headphones, whatever it is. And you think that that's really going to impact your life. And you're like, man, this is going to make my life so much better. I can go to the gym with them. I can do this. I can run with them. And then you get them, and you're like, the next thing already, you're already looking at the website. Like, what else can I get? What else should I add? Is it a new watch? Is it a new Garmin watch? Is it a new app? That one piece of equipment, everything that you did to get that piece of equipment is irrelevant now, because now it's on to the next one. And then after that, I'm going to do that. So I get a lot of clinicians who say, hey, I really want to get my SES. Sounds good. I really want to go into pro sports. I really want to get a job in a sports setting. Sounds good. And then you get there, you achieve it. That milestone is there. And then inherently you're like, that was fun. Now what? And and I think that's important for you to understand that it's not achievable, and you're going to hit certain markers, but then you're on to the what's next, because that's constant growth. So you have to kind of know that going into it. There's going to be another goal behind that, and that is very natural. And for those of you who think that you're going to be fulfilled, like that's the end of the road, that's just the start of the next one. And you've heard me say this before, every new level is a different devil. So if you get a job in pro sports, sounds good. Then you're already looking at different places. It doesn't stop. Then you're looking at a different team and a different sport. And then you want, a different specialty. Now you want to specialize in strength conditioning. It's just these ladders, and you're just a different rung in that ladder. And so you keep climbing, and you think at the top of the ladder that exists, and that's it doesn't. It's an arrival fallacy. You think that you can get there, and it just constantly changes. And don't, if that's happened to you, I mean, that's normal. It happens to me, but I know it now. So it's my expectation is I have to have, that's plan A, sounds good. And right behind that, I got to have a plan B. What's next after that? And it's important that your professional growth and your career, that you're aware of that, because then you feel unfulfilled. You're like, great, I achieved this. Now, I mean, like, what am I doing now with my life? But if you know that that was going to happen, you're already setting the next plan. So number one, constant growth has to happen. Number two, realistic about your goals. Number three is staying consistent. And don't let your highs be high, and don't let your lows be too low. So I had a client the other day who fell off the wagon. And for the last few years, we've been pushing this individual. Just keep crushing it. Just keep pushing. And their pain levels went down. Their fitness went up. They were actually the highest fitness I'd ever seen them in years. And then life happened, and holidays happened, and fitness dropped, and then pain came back, and then meds came back. And it was like all of this work, right? And I asked this person, I said, what was the difference? He's like, one thing just put me back in the hole, because my mindset changed, and then I just started eating again. My pain came back, and it was just like I couldn't get out. And what happened there was he let his low get too low. And so at the peak of it, when he was the highest fitness level, he actually invested in other things, different programs, different things, and I think he went too far up. And so you always want to play this game of stay in your lane and be consistent. Consistently always wins. But he went too high and he went too low. And what that ended up happening was his pain came back, and he was actually down in the hole where he was from before. Increased pain, on meds, and low fitness level. Fortunately, we know how to get them back quickly because we've been working with them for so long. And now we're talking about clinicians and people like yourselves. If you let your highs get too high, you want to be confident, not arrogant. And if you get your lows too low, you're going to fall off the wagon. You're going to just go back to doing CEUs. You're not going to be reading books. And you're human. You're always going to have this ebb and flow. So I say stay consistent. Think about all your patients and clients who do really well with you. They've had 12 sessions and they finally got out of pain. They're loving life. Do you think they're going to be out of pain until they see you again? Like, do you really think that they are forever going to be out of pain? That shoulder pain that you just fixed, they'll never have it again? And the problem is they think they're pain free, so they go out and exercise at the same rate that they were at years ago, months ago, and they're like, oh, it's came back. The therapy didn't work. The highs went, you went too high. Like, we just need to stay consistent. And that's very, very important for you to understand. In your professional career, you're going to be getting to places where you're very successful and you're doing great. Perfect. How do you maintain that? How do you maintain the humility? You got a job in your dream location. Sounds good. Just stay consistent. Don't ruin it. Don't push the throttle too much. Don't try and be Superman. And if you're in a place where you're not loving life and you're seeing 3,800 people a day, and your notes are 5 days long or whatever it is, you're getting too far down in the lows. Like, you got to stay high. So I tell you, literally, start reading, listening more. Stop just depending on other people to help you. This is about you. And if you're too high or too low, you're going to fall off. Something's got at the top, you're going to come crashing down. At the bottom, you're going to stay down, and if you don't have any resources and motivated people around you, you're just going to be in that. You're going to think that you hate your profession. Oh, I don't know if. Then you start questioning. I don't know if PT's right for me. Do I love it? And then you're going to end up looking at other things, a different setting, a different job, when in reality it was you. Job hunters nowadays, I had a good talk with a team member. There are certain people who are okay job hopping, and they're always seeking something. Oh, this one wasn't for me. I didn't like this. I didn't like this. The problem is they don't even understand what like happiness is to them. So they don't even know what they want. And the problem is that they are always searching for something else. In reality, they need to understand what makes them happy. And if you go from neuro to acute to PT, it's overwhelming. So if you go job to job, you have to understand your highs and your lows are getting too far apart, and you need to come back and understand what is it that you want. Are you growing consistently? Are you setting realistic goals? And does that make you happy? So just like your patients and clients, you have to keep them consistent. Just like athletes. If you've ever played sports and you've tried to learn a new skill set, and you finally get whatever it is, you're playing a piano, you're playing something, and you actually think you're really good until you are now expected to do a different level of performance. It becomes very, very challenging. And actually, then you get humbled on that. Or if you actually don't even spend time doing anything, or else you're like, hey, I don't even I don't like doing it. I don't enjoy I don't enjoy piano anymore. I'm not good at it. And you don't have a coach or somebody else around you. Of course you're going to quit because you got too low. So the consistency is key. If you get lazy, pick it up. That's just it. I mean, if you're lazy, I mean, why are you listening to this podcast? That's up to you. And if you think you're really good, I just urge you to come right back down and be humble, because humility will keep you in the game, and people will remember you. Your team, your company, people love humble people. And if you think you're a rock star and you are the best, here's a little reality check: you're not. If you think that you're the worst and you don't have a chance at getting into a dream job, you don't think that you can get into the school that you want or the position or the pro sports. Reality check is that that's your problem. It's you. And it's not that you don't have the qualifications or the skill set. You can acquire those. Just go to 50 more CEUs. Uh, that's not hard. The product is easy to develop. The processes can be taught, but the person is massive. And so ultimately, these are the three things that I think are going to, that I know are going to set you up to be a successful PT. And I said at the beginning, you can be a successful uh, plumber, um, golfer with these same principles. I think that ultimately we're talking about PT, but really what it comes down to is you. So that's the fire from the week. These are the conversations that I've had with the team, my wife, Stephanie, even my kids. I always try and focus on, they're developing their confidence, they're developing who they are, and really just letting them know that, they're they are going to be the limitation. They are the ones who can set things right. So as you develop your professional career, I don't know where you are, but I just know that whether you're year one, you're in PT school, you're year five, or you're year 15, these principles still exist. And sometimes you're going to fall off that horse, right? The ebb and flow. And so this is just here to bring you back up to the consistency level, to remember that the priorities are not just your skill set, not just CEU courses. It's just being consistent. Be constant and grow and be realistic so you can just enjoy that journey across the board. So there you have it, what it takes to be a successful PT. I hope that helps. And, just remember that it's a game. You're just constantly playing it, and it never ends. And if you're going to be successful in your professional career, come back and listen to this in 2 years, 5 years. It's always going to be the same. And I go through it every single day, week, month, minute. And it is what is the driving force behind everything that is successful in my life, in my career. And I hope it helps you as well. So there you have it. I will catch you guys on the next episode. Thanks again for tuning in. See you guys.